Is it again?
Hello, everybody. We are back again for URS. It is now season 4, and we are here for round number 1, the season opener at Mexico. Mexico hosts a season opener for the first time. It's the 4th different Trek to host a season opener. I'm your commentator, Ryan Ocon31. Welcome back for a new season. And alongside me today, I have Burning Man. Welcome
Hello
along.
there.
Good to have you. How are
Hello
you?
there. I'm good. Just obviously trying to sort everything out on my end.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know and not aware by now, I am the one hosting today. I checked the internet before. We're all good, as far as I know. However, yeah, Burning Man usually would be hosting. He could not this week due to a game share issue that came up last minute. So, trying to get that sorted out a little bit. And, yeah, there we go. Good
Oh,
to have you along.
Jesus. It's a bit loud. Turn that down.
Now, I was going to talk a little bit about preseason last week because preseason last week saw CJ win. He's now traded over to the Ferrari. Lajovic is in the Red Bull. And with that being said, a little change for Matty Mamu and the Aston Martin this season, along with Pluto, last season's champion. Matty Mamu ended up finishing 4th or 5th, one of the two, I don't remember off the top of my head, in the preseason event. Not only that, Jab and Joseph, who were ahead of him in the train battling for the podium, ended up finishing 2nd and 3rd. So that is how preseason ended off. CJ was also on pole, if we didn't mention that already. And yeah, not a whole lot that, has really changed or happened, within that time. And, we always speak about the previous week or previous season's results, whatever. We spoke about the previous week already, but we not spoke about the previous season's results because guess what? It was preseason that this track was hosting last time that we were at Mexico. Never hosted an actual points event, so we really don't have much to go off, Brennan, man, when it comes to our past history here.
It'd be a very interesting race to see because of that. Right. Currently got 3 streams that I can keep an eye on right now.
There you go. Now we just need an invite to 2 drivers. Just need to get Rowdy in here, and I think we have one more after that. It'll be the hot seat.
Right.
All right. As for reserving and previous starts, or sorry, first starts, well, we'll have one reserve in here, and we'll get them in just a moment, and we might be able to go really early. All right. And there's no penalties to be served for those of you wondering as well. Welcome along, chat. Good to have you guys along. No current standings to go off of into this race at all. So brand new season, brand new opener, good to have. And in the previous three season openers, we have had rain occur at some point in the event. Who's to say that's gonna happen today? Don't know. We'll find out. Does not matter which one. So when it comes to reserves, we'll find out between those two then, I think. Flip a coin. All right, let me flip a coin then. They want me to flip a coin.
That's how you sort it reserve.
That's how I'm gonna sort it out between the two people who are gonna get the hot seat for today. What was I gonna say? All right. Heads or tails? Burning Man, you choose. Heads or tails. All right, so we're gonna have. I'll have J and T at tails and Beatnik on heads. Let me flip a coin. It's tails. Okay. That is literally how I'm deciding the reserve lineup. There were three people who, got it. So yeah, there we go. We'll invite J&T. Anyway, then after that we can get going. We've never really had a reserve spot decided by that, crazy enough. So, yeah, once he gets in, he can join in the Haas, and then we'd be able to go. Let me see. Just a question for main chat as well. Ready up if Ryan's a bad owner. All right, well, J&T's in the Haas, and then we can get going. All right, you can put the ready up thing in updates. J&T about to win every coin flip.
I need to ping the reserve driver as well, don't I?
Yeah, you will need a ping. They can get the ready up. Just make sure you let them know.
Mm-hmm.
7 people in chat right now. Good to have you guys along, and I could see the ready up button being spammed. But anyway, here we go, underway to start the season. I always see the whole thing about who's gonna struggle this week. Riles told me heading into this one, it is his worst track, and that's why he will struggle. And he was okay with that. He don't care. He ain't offended. We're not too worried. But that's okay. Because you know what? Riles realizes that it's his worst track, and he's alright knowing that he'll struggle. He knows he'll struggle, so yeah. When we come to first starts, reserve appearances, let's talk about this though. Your reserve appearance at J&T, his last start goes all the way back to Imola, and GSR Thrasher will need another invite first off before anything else happens. But yeah, speaking about J&T, his last race goes all the way back to Imola, round 10 last season. And considering that being said, this time he's in the Haas and not the Aston Martin, so we'll get to see what his pace will be like this time around. As for the other drivers, let's see if there's any rain. I think it's a bit cloudy, but let's invite GSR Thrasher back, because I will take sort of the invites, I think.
Oh, I just realised, because I'm looking at other people's streams, I can already see if it's going to be raining.
That is true.
So we won't even be in the dark. Well then.
Hope the game isn't broke.
Imagine.
Oh, there we go. Now we got it. All right. Yeah, so J&T, yes, he is the only reserve in here today. And, the first 2 weeks of the season have been pretty good. Preseason, we had 19 drivers, all of them being full-time drivers. Joe was the only one to miss, Surfy being the only full-time driver to miss today. That is a pretty good way to start off our season. And speaking of GSR Thrasher, he comes back to the lobby, he is rejoined. And yeah, we have a lot of car changes for the season that we've gone over last week. We'll go over this week in case you've missed anything. Polo God is in the Haas. He trades from the Aston Martin to the Haas. The 2 Haas drivers from last season go to Aston Martin. Pluto and Maddie both in Aston Martin. Also, with them,
Right.
I was looking out my window. There's the Amazon truck out there, so I'm wondering what the heck's going on, because I saw the person in the truck waving. So, anyway, and the other Haas is Surfy. However, since Surfy's missing today, J&T will get to start the first race of the season. And in fact, J&T also did the, I want to say the last 3 season openers? Well, let me just make sure. No, he did 2 of the last 3, but he did the first ever race though, which was the season opener all the way back around the time of Brazil Season 1. And in fact, Brazil Season 1 was ran on the same day that the Brazil race this season will be ran next week. So there's a little stat for you. Anyway, a little cloudy, a little dark. Don't see any rain just yet. However, the drivers will tell us if there's any rain.
Talking about rain, pretty sure it did say it's going to be raining later into Q1. I'm pretty sure it also said rain in Q2 and Q3.
There you go. So that trend of the rain in the first first opening round of the season continues. However, what will continue is Polo God on this lap. Coming through turn 3, now on the run to turn 4. He's going to set himself up for a good sector 2, already down in the battery. And considering you said that there is rain, these drivers are going to want to get out there as soon as possible. And, you know, I remind myself, and not focusing too much on Polo's lap here, I remind myself of a race like Canada Season 2. I don't know if the race is dry or not. You can tell me after I get this thought through. You know, this race, just thinking about it, heading into it, does remind me a lot of Canada Season 2. Canada Season 2 being round number 2 of the season. Also, Canada Season 2 was a race to set it on penalties. This race will be a big one when it comes to penalties and track limits. Another thing about this race that was like Canada will be the fact that there's a good chance for a two-stopper. A very big chance for a two-stopper. So yeah, a lot can happen. Speaking of a lot can happen, Polo God sets himself fastest so far, 17.6. Still more drivers about to come across the line. Also with that, Will Cromack, 8/10 off. How about Chungus, 17.4, a 10th ahead of Polo. Behind that's an Alfa Romeo. I believe that's the Alfa Romeo of Sam Steed starting on the lap. No, it is Blue Goggy. Let's go on board with him as he runs down all the way to turn 1, trying to get some slipstream from the car in front. More drivers set in times. That's Kostek, Joseph, Rowdy. How about Pluto, 4/10 off? So J&T mentioned the reason why he's not out on track right now is the fact that he needs a setup from Polo. But as CJ said, qualifying is wet. Do you know whether or not the race is wet, Burning Man?
They flicked through it pretty fast, but if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure it was dry. I'm not 100% certain though.
If it is dry, this wet qualifying from drivers later on in the event is definitely going to set up their strategy very differently, because I saw a lot of, well, I didn't see, I heard a lot of drivers yesterday talking about the fact that qualifying doesn't matter too much for me. Lap 1's going to be chaotic. There's a chance for a two-stop. I might save one of my soft tires. I might save 2 of my soft tires. I might not prioritize qualifying. Well, if it is raining, you will not use many of your soft tires. And speaking of a second lap, how about Polo God going faster? 17.2. 10th off is Chungus behind that.
Blue
Goggy next.
Going to be looking at a win in your good old leagues.
Well, how about Blue Goggy next? 17.9. He's also one looking for a first win too. And in fact, he actually gets the record today for most races with a single constructor. 20 races today with Alfa Romeo for Blue Goggy. And in those 20 races, he's took one pole so far. Looking for pole number 2. Next on a lap. Let's see who is next on a lap. I believe that's Jeb William SU, who's actually on the front straight right now, just coming out of the pit lane. He has yet to set a lap, and right now in this elimination zone, you have Lando and Will battling for the transfer spot here for 15th. Oh boy. We'll go on board with somebody before we go on board with Jab about to start a lap. How about Will Cromack, who's a 10th off right now in Sector 1, heading to the S section. The S section is going to be a very tough part for anybody. It is so slippy on those curbs, and the fact that you cannot really push 100% all the time through that S section is going to be the big tough thing for these drivers. Speaking of tough things, how about Will trying to get through to Q2? It's 2/10 up. I mean, he's going to get through if he can complete this lap with the momentum he has. But he has to get through and complete it very well in order to get him safe enough. You see the drivers midfield, Sam Steed, Com, Joseph, 8/10 off. What is Will going to be off the top of the board? He is going to be not improving at all. That is not good. And he's completely out of battery
Oh god.
on that whole lap that he did. So he must have done 2 laps or maybe recharge one, save for another. I mean, these drivers are definitely banking on the rain coming soon. If that is the case, and speaking of that, Jeb William is going to have to get a lap in soon. And coming out of the pit lane there is an Alfa Romeo. That is Sam Steed trying to get through to Q3 once again. But right now, Jab also trying to make his quest first to Q2, then to Q3. Jab has an appearance of 14 entrances to Q3 in his last 14 starts, and you can see the rain starting to come down, and a driver, I believe that was improving, that was Com, 5th place. So now Jeb has to get this lap in almost immediately. J&T will as well. Lojovic, if he does not get his lap in as well, he's going to start at the back of the grid. Lojovic right now is coming through the front straight right now. So they have to get the last laps in that they can if this rain continues to pile down. because you won't see many improvements. Pluto thinks he's safe. Chungus thinks he's safe. I agree at this point, because they can see the rain coming down just as much as we can. Jab, 57.9. That is better than what Will could do, so that may set him through, and that may knock Lando out. Lando's on an outlap to try to get through. Joe and Rowdy are still stuck in the pit lane, though.
Is J&T still not got a setup from Polo yet?
He must have went back to the pit lane, but Riles is retired. He's thinking now that he's safe. However, Jab's coming across the line right now. 17.6. He's going to get through, luckily. Polo God retires. He thinks he's safe. Riles did the same just a minute ago. He's now 11th. Thrasher is out. Thrasher is out of qualifying. 18th right now for him, and J&T is going on to the intermediates. Lojovic either is on a lap or starting a lap. I think he's on a lap right now. Will Cromack in the pit lane. Lando improving. Lando trying to go to the line right now. I think he may have either started a lap or ended a lap, but still is not out of the elimination zone. Joe right now is in the bubble, and now as Lojovic comes across the line, Lojovic is now gonna be the one who's out of qualifying. He improves, he knocks Lando further down, but he is out himself currently. You can see the fact that Joe's about to start a lap, but he's got to get through soon enough. Aaron, more guys are retiring. Go ahead.
I think he's definitely out because he didn't manage to get out on those softs.
Oh. But he's at least got a setup, and that's what he wanted, I think, because he could not get one
from
Polo
I guess choosing the
until
setup over actually qualifying is probably the better decision.
Kostag retires, thinks he's safe. He surely is. Jab surely will be. CJ surely will be. However, behind that, Blue Goggy also retires. 9th place in this session. He'll get through. Right now, though, it's the quest to get through between 13th and lower. Sam Seed's in the pit lane. Rowdy's in the pit lane. But this track is going to continue to get more wet and wet, and it's going to continue to rain. CJ retires. He thinks he's through. He definitely should be. Jab will be next out of the retirees, but next across the line will be Lando, who is actually improving by 3/10 right now. We're going to focus on Lando because he could knock Joe out, and as this track continues to get more wet, it could put Rowdy in the elimination zone. Lando does get through. He's 11th right now. He is through, surely, with that time. So that knocks Joe out, and Joe is currently on the lap while Rowdy sits in the pit lane. Rowdy's hope is for this track to continue to get wet or a mistake costly from Joe.
Will Cromack is also out on an outlap. He's still looking to get through.
The track is not too wet right now, but it's just going to continue to get worse and worse between these drivers. Will Cromack entering the stadium section, Joe entering the stadium section, trying to find time, while Will Cromack also does the same. Joe, I couldn't see the time for the improvement from him, but if it's an improvement, he has to get it through just barely. Can he do so? No, down by 2/10. He is currently out of qualifying. He's actually gone out in inners, and he'll be the first one to see if those inners are actually going to work or not for the guys in the Q2.
Well, I mean, considering right now, the rest of the people ahead of him set a lap on softs, he's out.
Yeah. Well, I will say with this rain, it's not necessarily sticking to the track just yet, but I think the thing that we're going to focus on is how Rowdy's going to do, because Rowdy has to defend that spot now. Joe only 2/10 off, so who's to say for Will Cromack that he can't improve?
Polo said that he fucked J&T.
Oh dear, that may be why his 2 J&T has not got out there.
He panicked thinking it was going to rain straight away.
Oh, I see. CJ says the race is dry, but now Will Cromack 72 thousandths down on his sector 1 time. Now coming through turn 5 and heading to the double right, trying not to invalidate your lap to get through. He's got to do what he can. These times are crucial for your starting position. Rowdy TJ Boy is currently about to start a lap. Will Cromack enters the S section, trying to keep it on the racetrack, trying to hope this rain continues to just die down little by little and not stick to the racetrack. You can see it starting to a little by little. Will Cromack's time 3/10 down. So that may be the difference with the rain starting to stick to the racetrack, with him being in and him being out. Currently, he's out. Rowdy TJ Boy also starting a lap through Sector 1. I think he went off the racetrack right there, but Will Cromack enters the stadium section, enters the final couple corners. He knows he's out. Joe is too, and Joe cannot improve. Lojovic up to him right now, who will be able to try to set a competitive time while J&T's on the inners and sliding sideways. He saved it.
Pretty decent save, though.
And Rowdy invalidates. Yeah, Lando's on a lap as well, I believe. These guys are not going to improve. I mean, they're not down by much, but the rain is just and it will more, especially for Q2. So,
think it's safe to
go
say
ahead.
that everyone's starting to give up.
Yeah, Ready will be the next one, I think.
Mm.
And we'll see J&T possibly too in a couple of moments. Yellow flags. Will Cromack. He is out of qualifying. Rowdy. Invalidated. He barely gets through. Joe and Lojovic both out. Lojovic's quest to try to make Q3 is still going to have to continue all the way next week to Brazil. He felt confident in that Red Bull, but he is barely out. And look at that time being out too. Joe also out in the Mercedes. His first race for Mercedes since last season at the beginning. It also saw him out in Q1 once. It also saw him out in Q2 once. Joe still fails to make Q3 in the Mercedes. Rowdy barely getting through in that McLaren. Sam getting through. Joseph getting through. Joseph was a bit of a surprise that he's that far down. Ryle's that far down too, but he's not struggling just yet. Thrasher also out of qualifying too. Thrasher and Joe both made Q2 last time they were teammates in the Red Bulls, but this time they're both out in Q1, earlier before Q2. J&T now in the Haas, trying to find some time in those inners, not going to get through, it looks like. He is just losing time. And a big surprise here, as DRS is disabled, yeah, the track is quite wet now. J&T is out of qualifying. We can safely say that. But he's ahead of GSR Thrasher.
I mean, I guess that's a positive. He managed to finish above someone.
Lando retires. Rowdy and J&T will be next. But, you know, both Red Bulls out. A Mercedes, an Alpine, and a Haas. A Haas out of qualifying. And the scary thing about that is if they do not make Q2, or sorry, if they do not make Q3 with Polo, the bad part will be for them that their streak of Q3s ends.
That's unlucky, man.
Rowdy come into the pit lane, and J&T actually will be able to retire on track right here to get things going sooner. I hope someone is telling him that he can retire on track right now, because he can. Considering the rule, it was made official that he can retire right now, and he has, so he knows. That's good that someone was telling him. There you go.
Oh God is currently trying to take the piss out of Logovic for saying that he couldn't have said rain any more posh because he called it precipitation.
Well, yeah. Let's go through the Q1 lineup here with being eliminated and drivers who have made it through. Paulo God leads Q1, a tenth and a half ahead of the rest of the field. Not too much of a surprise there, but still quite a big margin for him. 17-2, that's probably the fastest you're going to get in this qualifying session. Chungus, second place right now. Kostag, Jab, CJ complete the top 5. No surprises as to who's up there. Com, Pluto, Aaron, Guggy, Maddie round out the top 10. 2S and Martin see the top 10. However, Joe, Lojovic, Will, J&T, and Thrasher do not see Q2 at all. However, J&T's time in the inners actually put him ahead of Thrasher there, so Thrasher, he said he would be starting P17, however, it is P20 for GSR Thrasher this time around.
I think he was a bit off with his prediction.
Just a little. But he was not wrong about the fact he was going to miss Q2. And he has. Both Red Bulls being out. That is a bit of a surprise with it being Q1. I do think they would get through to Q2 in regular circumstances, but that does surprise me just slightly.
Yeah, the session started off with rain instantly.
Yeah,
Everyone
and
always
it's
starts
just
on
going to
it.
get that way. I don't know if it will get... I don't know if what you can see from the driver's point of view, Burnaman, but I don't know how much more rain percentage we're going to get when it comes to middle of Q2, Q3. You know, what
Yeah,
are we going to see? What's that?
Sorry, the
Like-
second he loaded in, he switched to soft to see if the rain was dying down, and it actually is already dying down because the time was
Oh.
dropping.
So,
it's
you know what
still
I'm thinking
about
this
a
is like?
10-second advantage on entries.
Yeah, that's no surprise with what we saw with J&T. But you know what I'm gonna say with this? Do you remember Austria earlier last season, where I think you were there, where Q1 was dry, Q2 was wet, Q3 was dry? I think we're in for the same thing.
Be pretty interesting, yeah.
And if that is the case, then well, at least drivers know what they do with their cars now in the wet, you know? I mean, J&T got some laps in case there's a pop-up shower surprisingly there, too. Let's get Kostek another invite. No, but, I mean, you know, yes, you obviously want to find out whether or not, your car can handle in the wet. And that is a big thing these drivers will want to find out throughout the season because, you know, the certain amount of tracks we have on the calendar suggests that we could still see more times that it is wet than not. Besides, obviously, Bahrain and Abu Dhabi. But, you know, take Saudi Arabia, for example. Before Polo God starts lap, I'll finish this, but take Saudi Arabia, okay? He is sliding, but Saudi Arabia. In an F2 league on last game and on this game, it rained at Saudi Arabia. So I'm just saying, you know, Saudi Arabia is one of those tracks you'd expect it to continue to be dry at, like Bahrain and Abu Dhabi, but it ain't out of the question. There's some tracks where we have not seen rain in this league, which we could. Speaking of rain, let's see how Polo God tackles the first sector and then goes to sector 2. Shifting up the gears now, 6th, 7th, and that URS being used. And it's not too deployed compared to what it'd be in the dry. However, it is a 30.7 in the first sector. Now trying to clip the inside curb at turn 4 and 5. Trying to find some time. Going to the outside curb now. Setting himself up for turn 6 and 7 here. Where Sonoda and Ricardo had a collision. It might be tough for drivers to overtake there. But we saw in preseason before last season. Now, S section. This might be a little tricky. But this actually may be easier for some with their cars than not. It may depend on the setup, though, because some of these guys, if not all these guys, are on dry setups. Now, coming through the end of Sector 2, 103.6 for Polo God. Now, the stadium section for him. Inside curb a little bit, more of the outside curb being used, and trying to commit to the inside line right here already. Missing the apex slightly, but now, oh, little tank slapper there for Polo God. Missed the apex right there, but now it's going to come to the final corner. Stay committed. Stay committed to this inside line, I think. No, actually not. Trying to avoid spinning there. Coming to the line. 26-1 he sets. Behind that's the Aston Martin and Matty Mimo. Actually a 10th off, so that's not too bad. Behind that's the Alpine. That's the Williams and Jab who ties him. And Jab sets a pretty decent time so far. They're even. Sam Steed next across the line. Joseph next across the line. Pluto next across the line. Lando next across the line. The Ferrari CJ next across the line. Nowhere near Jab, Polo God, and Matty. And there's the Alpine, Riles, 7/10 off, 4th place.
Pretty cool to see, though, them getting exactly the same time.
And that's only happened 2 times previously in this league, but it has now happened for 3 consecutive seasons. If what you said about the rain dying down is going to be true, and if that is the case, from what, you know, you saw from the driver's point of view, then, honestly, Jeb and Polo are not safe by those times. Right now, you could say if it was going to get worse, that yes, they would be, but they're not safe by all means right now. And I would have to bet on them having to go out at least 1 or 2 more times, and you could just see a car park here at turn 5, 6, and 7 between the drivers, trying to get out of the way of others. You know, a rule that has always been reminded in URS. Not in the race structure notes this season, but it's always reminded as calm as just sliding through the S's. It's the fact that you cannot cut the track to get back to the pit lane. You can cut the track to get out of the way of people, but not to get back to the pit lane. And this is one where people do like to cut to get back to the pit lane, so just a reminder to all the drivers watching or having race engineers watch, as you could see the Aston Martin and the Alpine were very close there for a moment to hitting Calm. However, Calm is going to come across the line and try to set himself into Q3. Calm set himself in pole for preseason here, a season to go, but he's going to set himself 4th. That would put him through as of right now. You know, 2 drivers I saw interest in last week that could do a lot better with this qualifying session, and maybe if they make it to Q3 with how they start, depending on the circumstances. Rowdy TJ Boy trying to get a slipstream here from the AlphaTauri, and also his teammate Lando Norris. I find those 2 names really interesting for the start of the season, because they're looking to tackle the midfield, and they did a really good job in qualifying last week, getting through to Q3, and previously they've been struggling. And it's fair to say, Lando's struggling more so in the races, getting a slipstream there. is Rowdy from his teammate Lando. 31-2 in the first sector. Not Polo, but still having to find some time. That McLaren gonna benefit a lot in this second sector here as Rowdy tries to go toward the inside curb there at turns 6 and 7. Yeah, those McLaren boys, I would say they have a lot to prove. They are one of the 3 teams in this league yet to win a race. And sometimes I'd argue with the results last season, you could see why. But this season, they started off with a bang in preseason. Even with the reserve Toneless, who confirmed that he's not going to race this season, he did pretty well reserving in Abu Dhabi. Lando was contending for a podium. Rowdy, in the F2 series, was contending for many podiums, never got there. So, who's to say that it might not be the case in this McLaren this time, that he can contend for a podium more so often? But, that all comes, starting with, coming across the line now, what's he going to do? It was not really a good lap at all from Rowdy. So, maybe commentator's jinx right there.
You do like having the commentators curse, don't you?
And I think, speaking of a commentator's curse, Joseph, who's 11th right now, almost lost it at the final corner starting his lap. The conditions look tricky, but I'm interested to see. If it dies down like you said it would, it likely will be toward the end of the session. Like, I think what it's going to do, and this is just my prediction if what you said is correct with what you saw from Pluto's stream, is this is probably, right now is the worst it will get. But it's going to continue to die down. And as it dies down, the times will probably be similar to what Jeb and Polo's are, to where they have to go out again, just to secure the fact that they'll be safe. And, you know, you look at the times right now, they're definitely safe, if you want to think of times. But how about if this track does improve with the rain? Let's look at the S section from Joseph here, because a lot of drivers have struggled. We have a spin right in front. That's the Alfa Romeo, and Joseph almost hit him. That was close. That was Blue Goggy in the Alfa Romeo, who was around. That was close. Now Joseph trying to tackle this S section. He slides. Is he going to keep it off the wall? Oh my goodness. How did he keep that off the wall?
That's impressive. Oh my god, look at that.
Unbelievable. He almost got hit by the Alfa Romeo coming through, and how the tables turned between him and Goggy. Polo got Matty. They think they're safe. You know, out of anybody, the top 3 might be, but I don't think anyone else behind that necessarily can say that they are. I think they're so far out in front that they can be safe. Yeah. Goggy comes to the pit lane. Joseph, I think, is going to be this time. CJ is on a lap, and before we go to anybody else starting a lap, let's go on board with CJ, who is on a lap currently. Try to get himself through to Q3. He saw Q3 once. That was last season, Saudi Arabia. And trying to tackle the S section, he slides. He also keeps it off the wall and keeps it straight. And Blue Goggy also retires, as well as Jab. Jab's one is reasonable. Goggy's one, maybe not so much. Chungus also does too. Now, I'm just gonna say this, I'm gonna go out on the limb, that you might be wrong. If the track conditions are not improving...
It looked like it was dying down at first, but I don't think it is now.
You might have to check some stream from the pit
No,
lane,
the rain's getting worse. Yeah, Pluto's checking it now. Rain's getting worse.
Okay, there you go. So, yeah, it's gonna be tough to improve then. Look at that, wets for some of these drivers. You're exactly right now, yeah.
Yeah, wets are getting faster.
Aaron Ocon is going out for the final corner and trying to complete a lap. He's just not going to improve from the looks of things. And AlphaTauri with Joseph and Kostag. Joseph made Q3 tons of times last season. This time, I don't think he's going to get through. He's going to need the track conditions definitely to improve to get through. So yeah, that makes sense as to Blue Goggy, Sam Chungus all retiring. And even Lando might get through here. Wow.
Ocon, Rowdy, Kostag, CJ, and Joseph. Ooh.
You know, even look at the people who are out right now.
Yeah.
What surprises you?
I'd say the 2 AlphaTauris.
I'd say
Kostag
CJ as
and
well.
Joseph.
CJ looked so fast this
weekend.
weekend.
CJ did good, but it seems like he's not as suited to the Ferrari as he was with the Red Bull. Or maybe it is
definitely,
just the
but
wet.
In the wet too. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because CJ is one of the drivers who came into this race, sweated his ass off. And that's nothing against him. I respect the effort. But I think he more so did all of that in the dry and not the wet. And I think that's what is changing the outcome for him right now. GSR Riles enters the pit lane. He thinks he's safe. And you know what? More people will think so too. Pluto also through to Q3. Calm retires in the pit lane. And also, how about this streak for Jeb Bully MSU of getting through to Q3? Aaron Ocon enters the pit lane, by the way, but this streak for Jeb Bully MSU. We talk about Q3 appearances. Take a look at this. 13 sorry, I said 14 earlier, but today will be 14. When he previously had 13 consecutive Q3 appearances to his name, he now adds a 14th. He is one off the all-time record for from Sam Steed. You know, Jab led a session in Season 3 in qualifying. Polo led a session in Season 1 in qualifying. All in the season opener this was. Will we see a driver from Season 2 who led the season opener do a pole position? And that would be Calm if there's anybody. And he is actually through. Lando retires. He thinks he's safe. Joseph thinks he's safe. And it's Kostag who's going to try and make one last attempt at this on the wet tires.
Or he
And
might
I
just
can't
have
fully
gone out
blame him.
thinking he might be safe. Maybe he's just coming back in.
Maybe. CJ's back out on track as well. 2 minutes to remain.
Or maybe they're just using it to try and practice a bit in the rain, just in case.
In case it does. I mean, you know, you saw what you saw with the race saying it's dry, but the one thing I consider remembering is the fact that you go all the way back to Austria last season. They didn't say it was going to rain at all, so maybe these drivers are expecting something we don't know.
And I know the game has had weather glitches before, because it told me it was going to be completely dry in one race. I did
Yeah,
in the rain.
exactly. Well, something Lojovic also mentioned is the qualifying head-to-head. Previously, Lojovic, entering today, never out-qualified a teammate. So Lojovic is now 1-4 against his teammates in his 5th start. And today he's also looking for his first points finish. Well, speaking of looking for first, how about Kostag looking for a first pole position today? Looking for a first win. I think the first pole position's quite out of reach right now. But the first win's definitely not, because there have been drivers who won around that, well, maybe not in that position from the grid, but they've won from around that position on the grid. And Kostag is trying to get through on the wet tires. He's not too far off in the first sector, but it's just going to add up as he gets through to Sector 2 and Sector 3.
Yeah, I reckon this is... I don't reckon.
How about this Q3, though, that we're going to have on our hands? Both Williams are through. Both Aston Martins are through. How about the Haas Apollo God going through as well? You know, he's not worried about getting out qualified by a teammate right now. Oh, Kostag slides! That's going to be damage. And it surely is.
I'm surprised I
That's
didn't take
exactly
his
what I mean by
tyre
getting
off.
worse. And CJ, yeah, I know, too. CJ also spun at the beginning part of Sector 1, and now Aaron goes through Sector 1. It's just getting worse. Well, speaking of that Q3, you also have an Alpine getting through with Riles, one Mercedes, two Alfa Romeos. How about Sam Steed, by the way? Sam Steed gets through to Q3, and he has only saw 2 Q3 appearances in the last 18 races. That's hard to believe. But he's back through to Q3, similar to Japan. This time he did so in the wet. His teammates threw with him. And Lando Norris also through to Q3. He was expecting a decent amount of Q3 appearances this season. And actually, I think this is the first time that Lando has saw Q3 in a season opener. So, Joseph, out of qualifying, he is done. And Joseph has made Q3 in at least about 80% of his starts, if not slightly more. He is out. Aaron Ocon comes across the line. He's also out as he crashes across the line. Aaron Ocon did not have many Q3 appearances last season, and he's not going to have many this time around. CJ is also out. One driver we expected to start really well and also likely to dominate the field is out of Q2. Kostag also out. Kostag's never got a first pole, never had a front row start. That quest for a front row start is still going to continue. And also, how about Ratty TJ Boy, who I kind of did the jinx to, he went out a little bit late in qualifying, which may be as to why his time is slower than what we anticipate. But Rowdy, he saw a front row start in the first ever URS race. This time around, not going to happen. Through to Q3, there is, I believe, 7 different teams right there. We have Williams, we have a Haas, we have an Aston Martin, we have a Mercedes, an Alpine, an Alfa Romeo, and a McLaren. Let's see if we can get an interview in with anybody. Not done so yet. There was not many people we didn't expect to get out in Q1. You know, a lot of focus on a lot of other things, so it's distracted us from some interviews. But how about Joseph F1? We didn't get to interview him last week from his podium finish, but he is not usually out of qualifying, and we'll see if he wants an invite. To maybe see if he wants to talk about that qualifying or not. And before we get on to Joseph with anything, let's speak about these guys in Q3 with what they are trying to look for, what they are trying to accomplish. It is still raining, so maybe you want to be first out on the track. We'll quickly do this then. Jab, 2 previous poles, 1 in a season opener, trying to look for a 3rd ever pole, trying to look for a championship this season, in fact, and also 14 Q3 appearances now. Paulo God in Season 2 did not see a single Q3 appearance, whereas the season after in Season 3, half the races he made Q3, if not slightly more. Paulo God in a season opener back to Q3, and in fact, the last time he made Q3 in a season opener in a Haas, he took pole. That was the first ever race in this league for Paulo God. Matty Memo has not done a season opener in URS, but he has made Q3 a ridiculous amount of times in his starts since Hungary. Matty Memo, 1 pole to his name only. Blue Goggy, his brother, actually made it through pretty well and did not crash out. Usually he's had the pace to make it through, but cannot get through without crashing out. This time Goggy is through with no mistake. Goggy, 1 pole to his name, 1 front row start to his name. But in a season opener, he has had some of the worst luck possible. He has to start well in order for that luck to turn around. Cam, in the British Grand Prix in Season 2, pole position. I think 1 more pole position to his name since then. That was last season in the Mercedes. He saw a pole position actually in preseason, not a points race. Lando Norris, also on an outlap. Everybody's out in the track. Lando Norris never started better than, I believe, 6th or 7th place here in URS. Looking to better that. Riles, never a pole position, but maybe a front row to his name, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he does have a front row. Trying to look for Alpine's first pole since Saudi Arabia last season. Sam Steed, most pole positions in the league, has not seen Q3 in a long while, but, well, besides Japan, but he has a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence to bring. Chungus, 5 front row starts, never a pole, never a race win, and Pluto, who also has a matter of 2 pole positions. Oh, Matty slides his teammate. Pluto has 2 pole positions, quite a few front row starts, but has made Q3 for the first time in an Aston Martin, while Matty Memo sets a 32.5 in the first sector. Let's watch this lap. Matty Memo clips the inside curb, coming through to the outside curb now. Gonna go to the double right here, trying to find as much time as he can. If he actually times this well compared to the other cars behind him, he may be on here for pole positions if the conditions get worse like they did during Q2. Now for the S section, it just feels like a boat through here. It is just so slow trying to go for a lap, and I can't tell if he's backed off, but that is, if he's not, that is how easy he's having to take it. And yeah, he is definitely backed off here because the rain has died down a little bit.
I'm not sure if the rain is dying down. I didn't really get a good look at the weather.
Even if it is, we don't know if there's going to be enough time for softs. Who's next to cross the line? It's the Aston Martin of Pluto, I think. Yeah, it is. And I think he's still continuing this lap, but Matty Memo crosses the line, 33.7. How about Pluto coming across the line now? This will definitely be better. 27.2 on the pole position right now. How about Com taking that over? 26.4. Next to cross the line is going to be GSR Riles, who is also looking for first pole position at his worst track. 7/10 separating that gap. We saw a wet Q3 in Canada. where Pluto took pole position, but Riles comes across the line. He's just off of Com. 3/10 though, off of him. Lando crossing the line. He's gonna go third. Polo God is next. What about Polo God? Polo God invalidated that lap. And the Alfa Romeo's next. Chungus crossing the line. Sorry, Jab crossing the line. Jab is going to go 26-0. That'll be provisional pole. Next across the line is Blue Goggy. He's going to go on pole. 26-0. Goggy was the one who crosses the line now. And he barely has the gap over Jab right now. How about that?
It's looking good already.
It
Trailing
is.
the poles.
Let's continue to see drivers cross the line. Drivers start laps. What about his teammate Sam Steed? Does he have something in the bag that he is waiting to show? Actually, he's backing off. Polo God's purple now. Let's analyze this lap. Turn 5, 6, 7, the double right. Polo God, 2 previous pole positions to his name. 1 on an Aston Martin, 1 on a Haas. Now as he comes to the S section, there's an improvement from Matty Mumu. How about that? A 10th off. So these drivers continuing to find time as they will. Polo God, S section, looked beautiful right there. That was mistake-free. Now, the end of the S's. Purple through Sector 2. You could just tell that the times are continuing to improve. Haas have seen pole positions with 3 different drivers. Polo God being the first of those 3 drivers who set poles with Haas. Now, the final corner. Coming to the line now, sliding sideways. Lando improves to 3rd, but Polo God is going to go pole right now by 9/10. And this track is continuing to improve because he will definitely have that beat. If we continue as Jab goes 2nd, he's going to go a 10th off of that. Next to improves the Alfa Romeo Blue Goggy, who's going to go faster, but not pole position. Sam Steed's next. He's going to cross the line. He cannot get in a good lap. And Com is already thinking of the soft tires.
Already?
Quick interview.
It's died down.
Maybe Rowdy. Yeah, it definitely has. If that's the case. Aaron asked for an interview. We'll see from Rowdy, though. I want to check with him. Chungus is next to cross the line. This is going to be so much fun. Oh, boy. F1 driver says definitely lighting up in the chat. You could just see a game moment from Rowdy. A lot of things have happened in this qualifying session. How about Chungus next across the line? That's 2/10, but he's barely behind his teammate. Just more improvements as we go. Pit lane for 3 drivers right now. Matty, Mumu, Com, Riles. 15 drivers just waiting to see the result of this. And Pluto is going to go pole! 29 thousandths ahead of Polo God. Well, yeah, let's get an interview in quickly. We'll go with Rowdy TJ Boy. See if he wants one. More drivers continuing to cross the line. Polo got a 2nd. This may be the gap for pole if this continues to improve like this. Jab next, 51 thousandths. How about the Alfa Romeo? Sam Steed continuing to improve. 14 seconds. Can we say Sam Steed pole position coming across the line? No, but he is going to go 2nd row. New season, new Sam? New year, new Sam. Maybe.
And the copy paste about Sam struggling a mess.
I asked Rowdy for an interview. I don't think we've got one, but we'll get one with Aaron then, since I've not seen a response from Rowdy. We'll go quick with Aaron here. We have other cars crossing the line, but we're going to go on board with Riles, who's about to start an outlap here. He's slowest of them all. Com is also not necessarily in the greatest position qualifying time-wise, but as we see the drivers come onto the track, it's slightly raining, but there's some drivers in the pit lane who is electing to go to softs, and this may really pay off. If this is timed right. You could just see the track is not too wet now. So this may actually pay off quite well.
I think Pluto has just come in for the softs as well.
Yeah, I think if you're going to have to...
And now he's pitted.
Yeah, if you're going to have to go to the soft, you're going to have to go now, pretty much. If you're going to pit here. Aaron Ocon, welcome along. Let's go with this quick. Aaron, you were knocked out of Q2, could not settle up. How tricky were the conditions for you?
Yeah, the conditions were pretty bad. I thought that the intermediates would be good enough to try and get me in Q3, but I was just too slow on the inters, so I boxed for full west to try and see if that would work, and it just wasn't to be.
Yeah, my only other question I have to ask is, what are you expecting for the race now that these qualifying sessions have been a little wet and affected the strategy, Shirley? Are you expecting a one-stop, two-stop? What do you have in mind?
Um, I'm not sure yet. Probably if there's a safety car, two stop. But if there's no safety car, I'll I'll try and do a one stop.
All right. I don't have anything else for you, Burning Man. You have anything else?
No, really, just good luck in the race.
GSR Riles is coming into the pit lane, and these drivers are waiting outside of the pit lane to try to go for softs. You can see the rain slightly coming down, but nothing severe. This should make the drivers go to softs. And good luck in the race, Aaron. I hope you have a good one out there. Here they come. Here they come. You just knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen soon enough. So let's talk about the current positions for drivers. Paulo guided this would be his third pole, and this would be DRS enabled right there. There you go. Perfect time for softs. Jab being the first one, but I will say you might want to be the last one out, though, with how this track is going to improve. Paulo got 3 poles to his name, or sorry, 2 poles to his name, looking for a third. Jab can say the same. 14 Q3 appearances now. Sam Steed, previously 5 poles. Tons of front row starts, though. Pluto, 2 poles. Chungus looking for a first pole. In fact, I would say he has, what? I think 5 front row starts? Let me just be sure with this one. 6 front row starts. So yeah, Chungus 6 front row starts. Blue Goggy, 1 pole. Lando, best start, 6th. Matty Memo, 1 pole. Calm, 1 pole. Riles, no poles, but a front row start. So we're looking at a lot of first if we can find out what's going to happen. And, you know, you could see that on the mini-map, or the track map, the track is busy, but you don't want to be late enough at the back of the pack to where you can't get in a lap in time, as far back as the Mercedes Acom and the Alfa Romeo are back there. But you also want to be to an extent where you can get the last lap in without no traffic, because that may be the best lap possible.
Talking about being quite far back, Riles is massively far back. I don't reckon he's going to make it in time.
He was the last one to get to the pit lane. Anyway, Jab now on a lap. 51,000 is currently off a pole position right now in a qualifying session that saw the soft tires used early, then the inners, partially the wets for a moment, and now back to the inners, back to the soft. We have seen a crazy qualifying session. Jeb Williams SU starts his final lap. Inside curb almost at turn 1. Now the inside curb at turn 2. Turn 3. It will be now or never if you want to get a pole position. The Alfa Romeo as Sam starts a lap behind. Jab, though, on the entrance to turn 4, trying to arc his way toward the curb. 28.9, so an improvement by a second. So these last laps are very crucial in order to get pole position. Inside curb for Jab, to the outside curb back for him. Double right-hander, trying to commit as beautifully as he can to get the best lap possible. Pushing the limits, very much this Williams. Checker flag for Riles, he cannot make it, so he'll be 10th. No pole position for him today, and that is where he will start. S section now for Jab, coming through, clipping the curbs, trying not to spin, trying not to invalidate, trying to push the limits without even doing anything that he can to make a mistake. Now 4 seconds of an improvement here as we end the second sector and now head to the stadium section. Jab coming through and trying to look for pole position number 3, 2 in a row. What's he gonna do? Final corner for Jab. Final corner. Jeb Williams SU, provisional pole for right now. Behind that, though, you have Sam Steed, who's trying for a first pole position since season 1. Can he do it? No, he's not, but he's going to go front row for now. 1.5 seconds off. Next across the line behind that's going to be Matty Momo. Matty Momo, can he take pole number 2? Matty Momo crosses the line by 2,000. He does. Lando, 3rd. Best start for him. Next across the line, Polo God. Polo God's gonna go pole. Next across the line, Chungus. 6 front row starts previously. Pole. Alfa Romeo Blue Goggy misses out. Pluto misses out. Calm misses out. Chungus is on pole for the first time ever. 6 front row starts. Front row start number 7's gonna get him on pole. How about that? Oh my goodness.
That was a good little battle. Everyone going for one last lap.
Wow. Take us through this lineup.
Alright. In 10th,
That is a
Riles,
big
obviously didn't make it in time. Sam Steed in ninth, who in main chat has just said he forgot to reduce fuel.
Oh, wow. Continue.
And then 8th, Lando. 7th, Com. 6th, Pluto. 5th, Jab. 4th, Matty Moo. 3rd, Polo. And then 2nd, Blue Goggy. And 1st, Chungus on pole.
First time ever. Chungus and Goggy front row. Goggy second front row. Wow. I'm shaking after that one, I must say. It was quite good.
It was a very, very fun way to see it.
Very.
Feels bad for
The
Sam,
drivers
though,
have
if he
been told-
forgot to actually on the fuel.
I know, that is exactly where the time was surely lost. But people were improving, so he might have been around where Lando was. Lando ended up 8th. I said best start, but not necessarily. Best start previously 6th. As for where Lando was, yeah, he was around... Sam, I think, would have been around where Lando was, around 8th-ish or so, and somebody is readied up when they shouldn't have, I think. Oh, boy. Someone didn't wait.
I can already rule out
Doesn't
two
say,
people.
It doesn't say who it was.
Yeah, I know who it wasn't.
So-
Though. It wasn't Pluto or Logovich.
Oh, boy. All right.
And Rowdy said DSQ.
I think it was calm because he just said accident. Makes sense. Yeah. It was close enough to 12:48, right? I mean, hey, it wasn't too bad. I'm kidding. Still have to apply the rule regardless.
They did it maybe 20 seconds too early.
So I predicted yesterday when I was practicing with Sam that we're going to see drivers start on all 3 different tires. We have. And in fact, there are drivers starting on all 3 different tires. The softs for Kostag and CJ, that's interesting. The rest of the field either are mediums or hards. And yes, you could see it's dry out, dry race, boom. Easy peasy. As for tire choices between the top 10, let's go over that quickly before any favorite. The rest of the top 3, mediums. Blue, Goggy, and Polo. Matty, Jab, Pluto, Com, all on hards. Lando, Sam, and Riles with the mediums. And the rest of the top. All right, 2 favorites from me. Let's go over them. Chungus, a first pole position. You know, Sam was maybe thinking, oh, well, Chungus can maybe win. Well, you know what? He is maybe thinking that could be right. I think Sam said that Chungus was fast. I believe it after seeing that. Yes, one of the last drivers out. Yes, you know, a little crazy end of the qualifying session. But he had great pace here in preseason the last time we saw Mexico on the URS calendar. It wasn't a points race, but now Chungus can add points to his name for the first time. Well, maybe not if he slides like that. He maybe add points to his name that include him being on the top step of the podium. Also, a favorite. How about Matty Mamu? He was strong in preseason, and that Aston Martin starts very well, better than last time, and has a good chance from where he is on the grid, let alone with slipstream down to turn 1. Burning Man, quick. 2 favorites, quick here.
I'm going to risk a possible commentator's curse here and saying I believe in Polo getting a first win under your management.
All right.
And then...
Chad, give us your predictions.
So, for the second one, let's go with Gab. Go with Jab, yeah.
All right. Well, if anything, we'll watch for CJ as well outside the top 10, considering the fact
and the
that he had a lot of...
It's going to be a very aggressive strategy.
Pace. It will be.
Softs.
Slipstream. Here we go.
Thrasher's
5 red
been
lights are
DSQ'd.
coming upon us. Oh, boy. Thrasher has DSQ'd, but here we go. The driver's waiting to rev it up. 5 red lights upon us for a new season. Here we go. They rev it up. It's lights out, and away we go for the season opener for Season 4 in URS. And already off the line, look at that start from Blue Goggy. Already an amazing start off the line, pretty well, getting position to his brothers in the slipstream as well behind. They're going to be 3 wide for a moment. Chungus, Jab, side by side. Ahead though, as they jockey for position throughout the field. J&T, Sam down the order. And Sam already unlucky from the opening lap. 9/10 that gap between brothers with Goggy and Matty. And Polo side by side for a moment. Jab electing to go to the outside line to try to battle Polo now. Behind that, Com and Pluto, 6th place this is. While Kostag on the softs gaining to the top 10. We got trouble at the back of the field. Oh, that is Aaron Ocon with another lap 1 collision, I think. He's fell down the order. It's a spin! Come around at the already. Section has happened. There's already been a spin, and there's still a long way to go. 10th, 2 tenths now. Second place, Matty Chungus. Polo following, Jab following. The train goes all the way back to 19th place now, as there was that stack up from comp spinning. Now Joseph outside the train, lap 1, led by Blue Goggy, who's had immense issues with the opening round in URS previously. Yes, he does. He is through on Matty and Chungus. Chungus falling down 2 places from the start there, while Polo God gains the 2 back that he lost.
I'm pretty sure.
Don't know if you saw. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure Logovic hit Joe. Saw it a bit late, but I saw a Merc spinning as well.
CJ gets by Joseph. Pitting is Calm, who had trouble in the first lap. Joe and Sam are now battling at the back of the field. Positions gained. Well, 1 for Goggy, the most important one to get him the lead, which might lose him the lead here with sliding in the S's. 1 for Polo, 2 loss for Chungus, 7 for Kostag, 5 and 6 for Will and Thrasher. It's just a crazy start to start off with. Yellow flags, that is Thrasher around. And I can't tell if Joe got a piece of that because it looked like he lost a little bit of time, but that is the second spin now in the S section. You know, we spoke, Burning Man, last week about the fact of the matter that the tricky corner in Austria saw a lot of people spin. I think the tricky corner is this whole S section right now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The S is definitely going to be the hardest one to get down.
Yeah. Lap 3. Overtake. Engaged for Polo, and now alongside for the lead is Polo and Goggy going to be side by side. Goggy getting ahead. Polo God trying to still duck alongside, and he's got the inside line there. Somehow was able to stick alongside him, and now this invites Chungus to maybe elect 3 wide. Now, Goggy loses the lead, loses second place, and now is going to have to rely on turn 4 to gain it back. He can't do so. He has to get in behind.
Good little battle between the top 3 here.
Good place for Chungus to take advantage as well. +70 races since his first start in my leagues. As CJ and Riles side by through gets ahead while Lando's looking to see the 2 separate packs starting. CJ is almost, I think he did fall out of it there. Oh, and fourth, CJ on Riles behind that a little bit. Joseph around the outside, still keeping this one. Somehow getting ahead right there.
It's freezing for me, but the actual stream.
Yeah. No one else is having issues, at least from what they're saying. I think it's the internet I'm connected to on my computer, but I don't want to connect to the other one because if I do, then I think the lobby will lag, and I hope it doesn't.
And then Tonka's decide to tear you a new one.
Oh, I know. He might have to give me a new provider at that point. Yeah, the other one's not available, the other connection spot. But yeah, I mean, we have people from all over here supporting in the chat. We have people in the final couple of corners. This definitely invites Will now. Invites J&T, who's right behind. How about 3 wide right here on the entrance to turn 1? However, Will was the one who took advantage most of that, I think, with the DRS. Rowdy didn't get it. J&T behind. J&T and Rowdy now. Will on Joseph. Will goes through. Rowdy just a bit wide. And oh, he slides back in front of J&T. And I think that might have been a bit of lag. Yeah, as I was saying, we have a lot of people, as Thrasher, the first of the 3-second penalties. We have a lot of people in chat who are supporting many different people. I see fans of Lodjevic's here. I see fans of GSR Riles here, and some neutral supporters in the chat. Good. Give us your predictions. We are only lap 5 into. I practiced with Sam yesterday, as I mentioned previously, and the thing I noticed, and Kostag and CJ this applies to really majorly, the fact that they're on the soft tires right now. The soft tires are powerful. Lando around the outside are powerful, and you could just see it by the amount of. I can almost guarantee it. Yellow swap there on the stadium section. Point where the 2-stop will be most effective for them. CJ thinking about a move down the inside could. Forming from 5th place on back all the way to 8th, and in front of that, Kostag looking for a move, can't do anything, but Maddie and Jab are going to go side by side. Jab is going to go ahead. I must say, with Pluto not being in the Haas, Polo being in the Haas, yes, you could maybe argue Polo. Got a new lineup on us with people at the front of the field. Chungus and Gagi, front row. Polo God, Chungus, Blue Gagi, our current podium. Kostag and Jab up there. I'm not saying Jab's someone who's new up there, but we have new contenders for our title this season in Season 4, if we keep at the rate we're going.
I just realised the gap between Polo and Chungus. Massive gap.
This, partially, and I'm not going to try to downplay it, because it is quite a big gap, is probably partially due to the difference in tires. However, Pluto, CJ, little battle in this straight. Pluto using a bit of that ERS, already below 50%, trying to pull alongside on the inside line for turn 1. He slides with the rear. He cannot make the overtake right there. J&T and Joseph. J&T gets by Joseph before turn 1. Joseph in this midfield struggling already. And this is a big surprise. Joseph, who is one of the favorites from a decent bit of drivers for the title for Season 4, already a little bit of a struggle. For right now, it's still a long way to go. There's still a lot of strategy to go as well. So you can't say he's out of it, but it is a worrying thing if he is thinking he's out of it right now. And CJ will make a comeback, as somebody says in the chat. Yeah, there is a good chance of that. I could tell you that right now. A very good chance of that.
Looking at the map on the stream, just all the cars.
Everyone's so close to each other. I mean, Lando, yeah. I think Lando was the one who thought it's going to be a DRS train, but not necessarily yet. Everyone's got spread out with the strategy too. Aaron, this is first penalty of this race, and 2.4 between that lead. However, Gagi's losing out to Chungus right now, who's 2nd place, and he's got Kostag pulling alongside. How about Kostag inside line? 3rd place for him on the softs. Pretty good start. And pretty good start to a stint that he's going to pull for a while in this race, making it a 2-stopper. And even the other guy in the soft tires, CJ, also trying for a move. He sees in front of that a move with Maddie and Jab. Jab without the DRS, having to let Maddie by there and not put any contest to it. However, CJ's putting contest to him, trying to pull around the outside, has to back. Move right there to not cause a collision. And yeah, you just see battling throughout the whole field. And, it is going to 2-stop. Oh, doesn't matter. And you can see Kostag and Gagi. Kostag and Gagi also slid too. Yeah, everybody's starting to slide. The tires are starting to go off, whether or not you're trying to push it more or what the scenario is. with these drivers. You know, I saw Kostak and Gagi slid right before that. We have yellow flag. That is Matty Mumu around. And he's now outside the top 10. Unfortunate for him. He was in that train, and it's now kind of separated Pluto from being in DRS right now. And in fact, for Pluto's sake, Riles is within DRS of him and Matty Mumu. Pitting quite early. He may have picked up damage.
I reckon if he's pitting at that point, he probably did get damage.
He's going to the mediums though, so yeah, I would assume he's got damage with that being changed. Jab now's got DRS. Sorry, does not have DRS in CJ. CJ passed him, I think, and got double DRS. See, that's going to be the big factor in this race, and you might not realize it as much with not being on the game right now or not practicing for this week in Burning Man, but a lot of the drivers have, and I've spoke to a couple of them. They realize how big it is as there's yellow flags. That is GSR Thrasher off and now being lapped. But no, a lot of these drivers realize the big crucial factor of double DRS from all the way down to turn 1, all the way down to turn 4. If you get it at the detection point around where Kostag and Gagi are, you're gonna have it all the way down to turn 4. So that is how important it is, and these drivers know it. Jab gets by CJ right there in the DRS zone that is heading into Sector 3. See, there's 3 DRS zones, but there's one zone that's double DRS. Kostag into the pit lane. Luckily got it in safely without hitting anything. And CJ also on the soft tires, he's in as well.
It seems like them going soft has helped them quite a bit. They gained a lot of positions, but it's a matter of how they can do.
And GSR Thrasher, his race is done in the pit lane. He is the first retirement of this race. He is now retired in 2 of the 3 season openers he's competed in. That is not a good sight for Thrasher there. And DRS train all the way back, 10th on back. Sam Steed's trying to make a move here on J&T, it looked like, but these guys in this area from Joseph on back, they've just been glued to each other the whole time. They cannot get away from each other. They've been glued this entire time, and now Sam Steed right side for him. J&T might let him go here. Matty Mumu penalty, and Sam Steed completes the move. Yellow flags. That is Rowdy TJ Boy, and that was at the S section right there. Losing places now. And with the soft runners pitting, we will see people make pit stops very soon in the mediums. Probably more so now to lap 16. However, if they are trying for a 2-stop, they're either going to go mediums next.
Look at the gap with Polo and Chungus. 3 seconds.
Yeah, that is crazy. The gap he's been able to pull. I want to check the batteries, and I'm gonna right now. Yeah, they're literally equal on battery, so, you know, if they get anywhere close to each other due to a safety car or pit stops, I mean, they've got equal playing ground with the battery. However, they do not have equal playing ground with the straight line speed, so that is going to be the concern if you're Chungus. And that was shown really last.
Going into main chat to say bad car decision.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, Lajovic a part of this train as well. J&T a part of this train. Many drivers who have a lot to fight for, whether it's in this race, anything to prove this season. Have to find something. They have to find something if they want to contend for the championship. And Joseph slides right there into the stadium section, just being barely ahead of Sam Steed. Sam Steed will probably have double DRS here, all the way down to turn 4. He did get it that time, but the bigger question, especially being in the DRS battles, is do you try for the move down to turn 1 first, or do you try for the move down to turn 4? And which one's more important to pull off? Because you'll have DRS if you're still behind the guy, behind the guy, all the way to Sector 3, but that's a lot of questions drivers will be asking themselves. Joe gets by J&T, and now, in fact, Joe, outside of that 1 second, however, double DRS helps him keep him within DRS. I'm
I
going down to turn
was
4 now.
I was
But-
in DRS range. I would try and take over into turn 4, then maybe try and lose them in the S's. So obviously, if you take them over
Yeah.
the first one, they're just going to take over again the DRS.
And
So
where
then you'll just
Kostag came out... Good.
yeah, and then you'll just be continuously trading positions all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. Joe, penalty. That's the third driver to get a penalty now. But, yeah, I think for me, and I'm thinking more so, oh, we got a move maybe being made. Sam Steed just behind Joseph. You know, he's just getting closer and closer, and I could just see the struggle with Joseph on the hard tires. You could see it going wide right there. I don't know if that was on purpose to defend, but you could just tell Joseph's just starting to struggle. And Calm, 3-second time penalty. Now the fourth driver to take a time penalty in this race. But, yeah, you know, if I'm a driver here, I'm not as much thinking about these battles. Yeah, I mean, Sam Steed right now is thinking about getting by Joseph as he's going to pull which way? Right side. And on the inside line for turn 1, he's going to try to get through. He's clear before turn 1, yeah. So he'll have double DRS. But Joseph has his AlphaTauri trailing speed to try to help himself here. However, Sam Steed using the overtake button just cancels that all out. Yeah, so if I'm Sam Steed, if I'm just anybody really in a battle or near, not thinking about trying to gain time, trying to push it. I'm thinking about my pit stop time because Kostag, as you noticed there, came out earlier behind Ludwig ahead of Rowdy. Or sorry, behind Ludwig, but behind Rowdy as well. He previously spun. His gap that he's gained, Kostag, has been about 2 seconds here, and the gap between him and the lead, 27.6 though. Look at this gap, all right? His gap to Blue Goggy, though, is really 18 seconds right now. Why is this important? Why are you telling me this? Well, look, I don't know if Goggy is trying for a two-stop or not, but what I know Kostag is doing is Kostag is definitely trying for a two-stop. And the pit stop loss around here is 21 to 22.5 seconds. And the crucial matter, as CJ gets by Rowdy, the crucial matter for Kostag is he wants to catch this train after they pit, or at least be within DRS by the time they pit. That helps him with Goggy pull away even more, catch Chungus at the end of the day, and maybe, let's say, if this two-stop does work out, he could be battling for a win, be a guaranteed podium contender, for sure. I mean, there's a lot that goes into this, and now Aaron Ocon and Calm also duking it out in the straightaway. Aaron goes wide, Calm makes a switchback and gets through, but Calm leaves him a bit of space for turn 3. Yeah, I think that is important if I'm a driver. I'm thinking about my pit stop loss. I'm thinking about all the scenarios with pit stops. I'm thinking about my tires. I'm thinking about taking it easy somewhat too. And speaking of taking it easy, Aaron Ocon not doing that at all.
Yeah, the pit stops are what's going to really matter here.
And the thing with the pit stops too is you save 20 to 23% with the ERS into the pit lane. I mean, you know, for these people who have used it, that is going to be important. For the people who haven't used it, like Lando, in this train, compared to Riles, Lando will get almost full battery back, to where Riles won't get a whole lot back. He'll at least get halfway back. Speaking of pit stops, Will Cromack pitting for the hard tires. And the important thing we mentioned is Riles behind Pluto now is Kostag. 4.2 seconds now. Yes, the medium tires we're aware of that. However, Joseph and Joe side-by-side contact made at turn 1. And Joseph getting ahead. Sorry to interrupt about that, but yeah, the thing about Kostag, 4.1 seconds. He will catch these guys. His tires will slowly wear off. These guys' tires will wear off even more. That will be the thing that he'll be focusing on, but I think the thing with Kostag is he wants to catch these guys to get DRS, but he doesn't want to catch them at a bad rate. He wants all of them to pit once he gets DRS. Because if he's stuck behind him, that affects him with Goggy, and that's not what he wants at all. And we'll see what the case is there as these guys for 9th place continue to battle. Matty Momo got by Calm there, and he's now on the run to gain to Will for 16th place right now. Net P whatever, that's around, I would say, 11th maybe, once all the pit stops are done and dusted. Considering Will just pitted, we should Aaron Ocon, and he is continuing to struggle.
Yeah, currently it's just been like a 4-car train. There's not like much overtaking going on at all. They're just sitting
No, but
behind each other.
a lot of battling, a lot of waiting,
Mm.
a lot of waiting to the pit stops. That's where you might see more of the battles. Think
Yeah.
about the guys on mediums currently. They're gonna have hards right now,
Mm.
because the hards are much more harder, pun intended, to warm up when coming out of the pit lane. And that may be the difference between Chungus and Polo having either a 3-second gap or a 1.5-second gap out of the pit lane. All depends. And I don't mean to sit here and maybe leak some strategies between people, but I've heard people wanted to try the undercut. I've heard people wanted to try the overcut. I'm telling you right now, the undercut is quite powerful here. So let's watch when these drivers pit here soon. Yellow flags. That is, I believe, a McLaren. That is Rowdy TJ Boy again, but his whole front wing is gone this time. No safety car to his name, and there's a more of crashing. That's Calm. He's out of the race. Is this going to bring out a safety car? It's gonna. That's going to hinder some strategies. Riles pitting right now. That is our first safety car. Calm just flew it into the wall in the S section, and that is out of the race for him. Pit stop stacking right here between Ludwig, Joe. Just nearly stopping at the pit lane for these guys, and they're getting their pit stops out of the way now. And I think a lot of people will be doing the same besides them. That kind of takes half the whole thing I was saying about pit stop loss, everything else, out the window.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I shouldn't mention it, just so it's not jinx next time.
But
But you know what it does? You know what it does do, regardless? He may have had a front wing change, maybe, from the start of the race. I'm going to think that maybe from the collision with either Joe or Sam. But what I'm thinking necessarily for the front of the field is the fact that I'm feeling for Polo a little bit. Because that gap was just ripped wide open. Ripped wide open. 3-second gap, and it's
massive gap,
now
and
down
it's
to
just,
a restart now.
Yeah. Down to nothing.
Yeah.
He's apologising
Polo-
to J&T for something.
Polo got pitting. Chungus going to do the same. And I expect the rest of the field to try to do the same as well. That's no surprise. However, the thing is, if you're pitting now, your mediums, if you're pitting from the hards, your mediums are going to be worn toward the end. Hards, yeah, somewhat too, but the mediums will be more worn than the hards. So we'll focus on that whole fiasco there. Are they focusing on track position, tires? We'll find out. Kostag stays out. And this is a bit interesting with the way his strategy is playing. He may be betting on another safety car. However, look at the amount of people he's jumped in the pit lane. He's 3rd place right now. This has quite helped him. CJ as well, who's 4th. Gets out ahead of Gagi. And you know what? I also want to take this for granted because I don't know how long this will last. But, Burning Man, what's the one thing you see in common with the top 5? May not be what you think, but what is it?
Oh, I don't know.
They have never won.
Oh, yeah.
They've never won. Gagi's never had a podium. CJ's never had a podium. The top 3 have, and in fact, they have the most podiums combined, I would say, without a win. I think they're all tied for that record at 4, but they're still trying to win. So this is going to be interesting with the way we play things out.
This could be quite aggressive
JNT
battling then.
pit lane again. Exactly. And I'm thinking more so on a Kostag CJ perspective with the strategy because they're going to go soft at the end. Or mediums. With the safety car, it elects them to maybe go softs, whereas before they maybe would have gone mediums. But a lot has just changed within the last couple minutes here.
Be cool to see if there's more aggressive battling, because obviously, like you said, those 5 not winning the race.
Right.
Yet.
Jabs won a race. Pluto's won a championship. Lando hasn't won a race. Lando heading to the pits again. I don't know what for. He may have picked up damage under the safety. I'm going to assume so.
Maybe he wanted it to change
no.
the wing and it didn't.
Mediums. No,
Oh, what,
mediums.
you're
He's
not
going to
changing
mediums. Oh. Well, speaking of other things, Will Cromack hasn't had a podium since last season's season opener. Lojovic hasn't had a point. Riles hasn't had a podium since season 2. Alpine haven't had a podium since season 2. There's a lot that has gone on here with this top 10, with what they're trying to accomplish and what can be accomplished. I'm interested to see it. Say with him, he said something about apologizing to J and T from something that happened.
I haven't said anything else.
So I know.
Maybe he was
and
DMing him?
Chungus is also maybe, but Chungus is not too happy about the safety car one bit. I could tell you that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And-
His reaction in the main chat.
He knows that he probably would have caught Polo on pure pace, and now he's got Kostag behind, who's quite aggressive. CJ behind, who has quite a lot of pace. Gagi, who's also behind that, who Chungus looks at as mental. I'll put it that way. I can't say the other word on the stream that I want to say, but, you know, there's a lot that can go on. I don't know how Twitch is on banning things, so I would have said a certain T word, and I think you're aware of what that is, but yeah, I don't know.
So I think he's saying Kostak is quite aggressive. It's a bit of an understatement.
It can be, but how aggressive are you going to be here in the sense? Because he is going to have to try to pull a gap. He is going to have to try to do what he can to maybe either choose to go softs, which are powerful, but how powerful is the track position? Are you relying on a safety car? Are you relying on really crashes? What are you relying on? You know, that's the thing I'm asking myself, if I'm being honest.
I'd love to see
The good thing I'm thinking-
Kostak die from 5 miles.
The good thing about it, though, with this league is you'd be surprised. It works out more times than it doesn't. However, with a lot of the other league races I've seen, it's usually the opposite. Or 5 lappers, it's usually the opposite. So he practices that move quite a bit. And he may practice it on Chungus here, considering the fact that, yes, Kostag's on quite Warner tires, but the straight line speed might make the difference heading into turn 1. Chungus, Jab said, oh, I'm ready to lose 2/10 down the straight. I don't know if Chungus is expecting the same, but let's say that's true. Yeah, AlphaTauri is quite powerful in a straight line. One of the top 4 cars in a straight line. People look at it as if it's a useful or useless thing to mention, but that may be the difference in Chungus trying to overtake Polo here directly on the safety car restart, or Chungus getting overtaken by the cars behind him. Because we will be in this lap for a 16-lap shootout, which isn't much. It's still quite a bit when it comes to strategy too. But Polo God leads his first safety car restart in a long, long while. I don't remember the last time he did, in fact. But here we go. He is the one in control of this. Chungus behind, who took his first pole. Kostag looking for a first win. 4 podiums to his name with that. And CJ, Gagi, never a podium before, looking for best finishes. Lojovic, also in the top 10, looking for a points finish. Here we go. Back to green flags, back to racing. Here we go. And exactly what I was talking about is happening behind. Here's Kostag on Chungus already. For second place as Polo God goes, and he pulls out quite a bit of a gap already. Kostag pulling alongside. That's second place in this race. And that is important for his strategy. He goes ahead. And now, trying to attack Polo God, Kostag has Chungus for company alongside, CJ behind. And now this train goes all the way back to 11th place as Matty struggled there on the restart. He has now got the gap of 2 seconds with Joe and Lando and the other drivers following him. Down to turn 4, Chungus gets close, but he slides! He slides the rear, and now Jab and Pluto are going to be side by side. There's a bit of contact. And Jab still trying to pull alongside Gagi at turn number 6. Cannot make the move.
I just tap Doggy.
That may have been the result of Jab and him getting side by side. Now Matty with that tap has caught himself back up to the top 11 as Lojovic gets passed by Joseph there on the restart. Now Chungus on this restart has got alongside Kostag for a second. Pluto penalty. Joe losing places. Kostag is pitching and there's contact. And Kostag goes wide from the result of it. And now Chungus down the inside. He is really desperate to get by and try to get to Polo. Contact made again. More contact. Now they're ghosting inside one another. More contact at the final corner. Now they have lost 2 seconds to Polo. CJ's got an advantage now. He's pulling in this slipstream. He's going to pull 3 wide. Look at this.
It's just the consequence of two very aggressive drivers racing.
Jab and Goggy as well. Sorry to cut in. Jab and Goggy side by side behind that, but they're 3 wide for a moment. CJ and Kostag now going to go side by side to turn 1, and it is CJ who has to stick behind. Goggy and Jab, though, none will stick behind. Side by side in contact. And now Pluto gets ahead of Goggy from all that contact. If you are CJ and Kostag, you're going to have to pull down Polo's gap soon enough here. And the gap, is side by side between Chungus and CJ. The gap that is formed is not what Chungus needs. He's on fresher tires. Jab's on fresher tires. He's also right behind too. And Pluto on the same tires as well, but with a penalty. He even said he'd probably have a lot of penalties, but only 4 drivers do have penalties at this stage of the race. Oh, Chungus on the back of CJ. Almost contact. CJ also on the back of Kostag. Side by side, wheel to wheel, heading into Sector 3. CJ around the outside. Kostag somehow getting ahead, but there's contact. And now Chungus splits the pair of them. And Jab also trying on CJ. Chungus bodies his way through. And now backs off of the DRS, but gets back ahead. And now side by side, CJ loses out. And now on the run down the front straightaway, Chungus. He thought DRS would be enabled there, but the fact is, the detection point with where it's at, it's before DRS is enabled. Change the difference. Kostag gets ahead. Pluto and CJ battling. Behind that, Riles and Goggy battling. Side by side, Kostag's around. And he's also got Tap. Pluto's around. CJ's sideways.
Yeah,
and now, they're outside the top 10. Pluto outside the points. Kostag outside the points. This has hindered them surely. Aaron and J&T side by side now on the run to turn 4. Rowdy makes contact with Aaron. And now just side by side action throughout the whole field. Pluto trying to find places back. Makes contact with Aaron as well. They are jockeying for position. Joseph, who struggled earlier, now up to the points positions, up to 7th. Matty Mamu, with that penalty, also back up to the points. Joseph slides and into the wall. Will Cromack, also at 3 in the process of avoiding that. And now he's side by side as well with Lojovic. Lojovic going wide. Lojovic with J&T now, side by side into the stadium. Pluto goes wide. Pluto's side by side now. Oh, they crash.
It's a cluster. Oh.
It is. Joseph and Pluto.
And that's Pluto's whole front.
They're around. Riles into the pit lane. Will into the pit lane. This has turned into disaster. CJ now for 4th place. What is happening? May I ask? Joe, 3-second time penalty. J&T gets by Lojovic. And Pluto's disaster of a race. Oh, dear.
That's what happens.
It just adds on.
It all started when Kostag and Chungus were battling, because they're 2 very aggressive drivers.
What happened with Riles, by the way, with why he pitted, Kostag didn't ghost when he crashed.
Ooh.
So, there you go. And AlphaTauri, both Alpines and Aston Martin. Hell, Joe's just going to pass a few of them while he's at it. Maybe just one. Oh, boy. It has turned into a cluster. It does remind me of Canada, because they did lose their minds on the restart. And some of them did lose their minds in this restart, too. But you can see now that Chungus has got clean air. That gap is coming down between him and Polo. It was at 4 seconds at one point. It's at 2.4. That is what Chungus needed. He needed to get to that gap. He needed to get to that gap and get closer. But now, is it too little, too late for that gap to get closer? I mean, Polo's out here in front, 50% URS. He's cruising. Chungus is below 10%.
From that restart, I'd say Polo is the only one who really gained anything.
I'd say Lando too, because Lando was like, what, 10th or 11th or outside the top 10, and he's now inside the top 10?
Like, if we're talking about any of the top people.
Oh, hold on, CJ down the, or sorry, Aaron down the outside of Kostag could not make the move. Go ahead.
We're talking about, like, right near the restart, Polo, obviously right there, and then because of the battling between Kostag and Chungus, we just got that gap.
Yeah. And the thing is, Kostag and CJ also got ahead of Chungus there too in the process. So that held Chungus up from gaining anything on Polo. And by the time that Chungus is able to get clean air, it's probably too late unless Polo makes mistakes. You could see that gap, 2 seconds now. And my point of being a little too little too late is the fact that Chungus's tires are going to wear off. However, will they wear off to the point where he is not so competitive? You know, is he not able to pass Polo at that point? Is track position going to be a key factor? What happens when he gets in dirty air? I mean, all these factors have to be put in there. And by the time that Chungus may catch Polo, Polo's tires may be in a better condition than Chungus's when it comes to pace-wise. Blue Goggy, CJ, final couple of corners. I think that's CJ who's pits, actually. Never mind. He is going to go softs. And this will be an interesting quest through the field. Kostad got spun, so his was hindered. He's not pitted yet. He's in a battle. How about Matty Lando? Matty gets by Lando. Aaron gets by Kostad with no battery left to spare either. But, yeah, CJ's going to come out 13th here. And he's behind a lot of battling, so he's going to have to gain it all back. However, Kostad still is yet. He's going to have to pit before the end of this. He cannot go 26 laps of mediums, and it'd be a big shock to me if he does. Joseph, fastest lap. Yeah, wing damage for Riles, Tom had said in the chat, so that makes sense as to what happened there. And you could just see in the S section every time, Chungus stays even with Polo God throughout the whole lap, but it's the S section he gains a couple of tenths.
Currently, Pluto's just in no man's land. 3 seconds behind Joseph, and then 3 seconds.
Pluto's never finished a race and been outside the points. The one race he didn't finish, yes, obviously, he not finished a race outside the points, but that's the only race he was ever outside the points, Pluto was. So, are we seeing a change of things today?
Insane.
Or are we too early to say that?
You never know.
However, his teammate is leading a DRS train from 5th on back. Lando, who pitted for some fresher tires, has got JNT and Lajovic behind him for company. Lajovic running in the points without a penalty right now, by the way. Just to add on to matters, because he had, in the 2 Austria races he did, one in Season 3, the other in preseason, had double digits on penalties. Right now he is penalty-free and would finish 6th on track. Just to put that into perspective. Joseph, fastest lap. That's outside the points.
Also, to put it into even more perspective, I'm pretty sure he doesn't have a track limit warning.
Wow. Wow. And I can just see it from going on board with Polo God. He might have a track limit warning from right there, but he is struggling to find grip in those S's. I had to go on board with him to see how bad it was. He is struggling with the S's. And I don't know if that's the hard tire or him, but yellow flags. We got Will Cromack around, and now you got J&T around. He was running in the points. He's now stopped. And then went again. He may have reset and he tried to do that again, because he did that in F2 during the offseason, so we'll see about that one. Regardless, it invites Lajovic to 7th place on track, so fair play to him.
It's going wild for Lajovic.
It is. Polo God's still leading, by the way. Laps winding down. You know, the tire's going to wear off. Chungus still trying to gain. J&T pitting, by the way. But, yeah, a lot has happened. And 1.9, that gap. Chungus has to try to gain it back. He can. I think he can. But it's going to have to take Polo God to take the S's the same way he has, just with more mistakes, in order for Chungus to gain it back. Look at there, 1.7 and the S's. Let's see this gap again. Just wind down. It's just going to continue to wind down. 1.5. Yellow flags. 1.3, 1.2. This gap is continuing to wind down from Polo's mistakes that wind down nearly a second that lap. Wow. If I'm Polo God, I am worried.
Could catch him.
He could, and I was exactly right about that. Aaron, 3-second time penalty. Kostag Rowdy, what a position trade there. 9th place, though. It could decide who's 8th with Aaron's penalty. And Pluto, Joseph, Will Cromack, Joe, some big names right there just struggling in this race. Joe is spun again. He's got more damage to his wing. And the thing about Polo is because of the time he's lost, he's had to use a bit of URS in that front straight. He's now down below 40%. So let's see what this does to him. URS is definitely hard to gain back here to an extent. So Polo God's going to have to save some more and more URS. Yellow flags. Is that Joe again? I think it is. It might be. He's letting a couple people go, so that makes sense. as to where the yellow flags are, but Mercedes not had the best season opener for sure. And let's just continue to watch this gap to the S's right now. 1.2. I mean, Polo God cannot take the S's like he would want to in that, section of the track and just gain time. Yellow flags for Joe, by the way. He's got a 10-second time penalty, letting all the cars go. But Chungus is almost invited to DRS. And now it's more 10-second penalties for Joe. And he's also a lap down to add wounds to it. Chungus, it might be within DRS right there. I don't know. It is going to be close. However, their batteries are similar. Chungus, no DRS. CJ, though, on those soft tires with a penalty. We speak very rarely of Polo God's SRS win, which, in fact, I should say, was very crucial to his name. He took 5 seasons to win an SRS. He won his first race there at Monza. It took him a long time, if not longest out of anybody. Joe retires in the pit lane. But for this league, it has been a total of 32 starts, by the way. 32 starts. Aaron Ocon, time penalty for him. And within those 32 starts for Polo God, no win, 4 podiums, couple of pole positions, right? Well, now he's trying to look for a first win, which he's just losing out on with this gap to Chungus. You could just see the difference. 8/10 now. He's definitely got the rear wing open now. Fastest lap for J&T, but behind that, Kostag, Sam, side by side of the S section. They have to yield. They do. The battle for the lead is going to continue to heat up, and Polo God, the pressure is definitely coming to him as we're coming to 6 laps to go. A first race win for Chungus, a first race win for Polo. Who's it going to be? Chungus, in this league, he has started a total of 18 races, no wins to his name. Polo God, 32 races here, 70+ races across this league. Or, my ownership in leagues, no win to his name.
Do you reckon Chungus can make those tyres last to the end?
He's going to have to defend from Polo, if he's going to do it. If not, pass him the S section if he can do anything crazy. Because with those tires fading, he might be able to do something miraculous. And you know what? Car-wise, we're seeing the same top 3 we saw in preseason, season 2. Lojovic, that time penalty streak ends. He's got a time penalty. It was going well for him. Now, S section, 5/10 between Chungus and Polo, and the gap is going to continue to close. This time, it'll be DRS for Chungus, and the gap within half a second. 5/10 now. You could just see Polo God's tires. They're not eating up too much, but they're just losing grip in the S's. It's the only place he loses time to Chungus severely. That Australian speed could keep him in front. The ERS is the same pretty much between them. That's not too much of a factor. However, lap 32 out of 36, DRS is going to be applied for Chungus. And Polo God has seen a win slip away 3 different times in leagues of mine within the last couple of laps. We could be on for number 4. However, he's ducking to the right side to keep the slipstream from being used. However, not a move there. However, he's close. He's continuing to close. Oh, just not close enough.
I reckon Chungus has this in the bag.
Aaron Lojovic. Well, he's got to overtake him first. Aaron Lojovic places trade there. They both have penalties. And the fact that we had Chungus get hindered, literally hindered, with Kostag, CJ on a 2-stopper, a crazy restart, 4 seconds behind. The fact he's been able to gain that gap shows something right here. Chungus just using all the curb, trying not to spin either. DRS enabled, 2/10 that gap. And Chungus made the switch to ABS off during this offseason. And in fact, with that switch, could see a first race win.
You said that decision may already be paying off.
I know. Yellow flags. Kostag, I think, is around. He is, but now DRS in this front straight for Chungus on the back of Polo God. Polo God has more battery to spare. Chungus under 10%, but the move is definitely not going to be made just yet into turn 1. It's going to have to wait for turn 4. And he's just close. He's right in the back of him right here. He's just waiting for a slip up. And Polo God is seeing the pressure. He knows the pressure is going to be the big thing in this Haas. But overtake's being used. Down to turn 4. Will we see a move? No. Still in the back. Waiting for something. He's so close. And you say there may be a collision. If there is, Jab would be invited with 5 seconds of a gap to these guys. Polo God continuously losing time on the S's. Now trying to hold off Chungus in the S's with DRS this time. The gap is even closer. Look at the gap out of the S's. 2/10, under 2/10. Now Chungus trying to find time and trying to find room to make the move.
Just
Chungus
hanging
going
on,
wide, a
Polo.
lockup. There was a lockup right there for Chungus. But it wasn't enough to put him away from Polo. DRS going to be enabled this time. The battery has been saved a little more from Polo. The slide from Chungus in the final corner. Polo God having to do everything he can to hold on. 3 laps to go. 5/10 that gap is now. And if you must say anything about his car, you must say he's definitely had a fight this whole time. He's been up front. He didn't get the pole. Chungus did, though. And now the pole sitter trying to fight with the guy who was leading in preseason. Saw the win slip away, and he might see it again. He slides. He saw it slip away from the lead in preseason. He's going to slide right there in the lead this time, but the left side is open for Chungus. He can't do anything from it. He has to wait. He's just waiting for the right time because he knows
Well, he needs to
might
hope
be
that
the only
right time
opportunity.
comes fast. It's only like 2 laps.
Kostek 3 second. Rowdy and CJ side by side. Almost a collision here. CJ. And Polo God, the mistakes just continue to come to him. Look at this. Sliding sideways again. Sliding sideways more. Chungus right in the back. The curb being used. All to its ability for Chungus to make the move if he can. 2 laps to go this time. 73 entries, 70 starts in my league, 0 wins for Polo. He's trying for win number 1 today. With, by the way, to add to it, 6 poles to his name. Rowdy, penalty. 2 laps to go. We're on the penultimate lap with DRS enabled. Where's Chungus going to make this move? Chungus and Polo, 2 drivers who've lost wins late in the race, are looking for win number 1 in this league. Chungus, you remember to Spain, just the collision with Matty. The collision with Pluto in Saudi Arabia. The DNF when he was gaining on Matty, the other Haas driver at the time, at Baku. He's looking for a first win. He's just on the back of Polo, trying not to hit him. He locks up, though, a little bit. The battle also continues for 5th place with penalties included, by the way, with Matty and Lando. Ludwig still in the points. Sam Steed looking to gain places. CJ and Rowdy for the last point. 5/10 the gap in the S's now. Polo God trying to hang on for what would be a first race win. He's just sliding sideways. You can see through the S's trying to hang on. Kostek, fastest lap. Chungus trying to slide as well just to gain and find time as we're entering lap 36 out of 36 this time. A battle on our hands for win number 1. Polo God, Chungus, they both have 4 podiums to their name in this league, but 0 wins. Chungus took pole position number 1 today. Polo God has 2 to his name previously. They've been great. They've battled great. But now, one more time around this track to see who wins the duel between them. Chungus using all of his battery. Polo God using some too, but Chungus is in the battery range of 0%. Oh. Polo God's got a lap car of Will Cromack, which may help him. Polo God lost time there, and he's losing time again. DRS for Chungus.
Has the time come just late for Chungus?
Has the time come right for Polo or Chungus too? We could see the S section decide this race. We saw it earlier. Chungus has lost a win late in the laps before his tires might be dying down. Polo God, second in the championship with Errol. The battles with Jack Lilly. LMG, F1 driver, everyone else who he's lost wins to, battled it out. He's trying to hold on. Chungus gets a penalty. That may have decided it.
Oh, yeah, that 100% decided it.
He has bottled so many races to where they thought he can never win a race in a league owned by me. 70 starts, 73 entries. Polo God is a race Winner! Polo God wins!
Only took him about 10
For the
years.
first time. Chungus comes home second place, Jab on the podium, but Polo God victorious. Unbelievable. And yellow flags, I believe that's Rowdy and CJ to end it off. That's for the last point. They're crashing across the line. Aaron is going to lose a place to Lojvik, who scores his first point. But Sam will take over him. Wow.
Oh my
By the way,
gosh.
Goggy's car is totaled. CJ, last points position. Aaron, then Riles. Joseph, Pluto. Finishes outside the points. Kostag to J&T. What a race on our hands we had.
Oh my god.
J&T burns it down for his teammate. There you go. Wow.
Ooh, button.
Wow. And J&T crosses the line. Wow. Kostag not too happy with Chungus. Joseph not happy with the way the race went, but the Haas plan works out. CJ mentioning on that last lap, Rowdy gave no space to Stadium Hairpin. And that may have decided who got ahead of who in those last couple of corners between them. 73 entries, 70 starts. Polo God is a race winner. He heard it once before and he's now heard it again. It took a 4th season with 32 starts of URS in order to do it. Well, you can see the character shake with the hands and some gritty.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
Oh man, he hit the gritty.
He did hit the gritty. Wow. Whew. What a race. What a race. Let's get our
As
podium
soon as I
sitters in here.
started-
By the... Go ahead.
Alright, as soon as I started celebrating, I opened my door and shouted to my parents, sorry. I was screaming that loud. Oh my god. I cannot
That's
compose
a slap
myself.
for Kostag. And we'll get the rest of the podium in here. I don't know if Chungus will join. He usually doesn't join podium interviews, but that's okay. Speaking of other finishing positions, Sam gets in the points. Maddie gets in the points for Aston Martin. Blue Goggy gets his best finish yet. A top 5 finish for him. Lojvik, the first points finish for him. It took him race number 5 to do so. CJ in the points once again for Ferrari. And there you have it. Wow.
The flood of tickets are starting to get open now.
Oh, I'd imagine. However, DNF's pretty good here. Only 3. That's not too bad. Wow. All right, let's get this underway. Well, Jeboli MSU, vice champion from last season. Let me just say, you were probably hoping for the top 2 to crash. Maybe not as much your teammate, in order for you to have a chance. But talk me through what you saw in front, hoping for a chance there, and talk me through your race to get a podium.
Really, I went with a little bit lower downforce because I just didn't have the pace in sector 2 compared to Chungus to begin with. So I just kind of went, if there's a safety car restart, lower downforce could work, but this was too slow in sector 2. But yeah, I was hoping both of them crashed, to be honest, just for my sake. And I don't know what happened between Chungus and Kostag. That was a bunch of chaos. I don't know what happened there. I have to look back at it. But other than that, kind of, a lonely race after everything kind of settled in, just kind of praying that there's either a safety car or they mess up, really.
Yeah, and your previous teammate of Polo God to win, your teammate to be on the podium, your teammate to get a first pole. How are you feeling about it all? Williams lead the constructors.
Well, obviously that's great. Obviously for Polo, I was hoping It's kind of weird when your person you're rooting for and then your teammate are also battling each other. 'Cause I want Polo to get the win, but I also want Chungus to get the win, so it's kind of weird. I was just hoping Polo didn't choke, like preseason. I was waiting on it. Every time I saw a yellow flag, I just looked down to make sure it was Polo. Um, but it's great. I really didn't care who won. Obviously, for championship's sake, I want Chungus to win for constructors. But I'm still happy to see Polo win too.
Yeah. That's it for me. Congratulations on the podium, Burning Man. Any questions for Jab?
Not really. Just well done on the race.
All right, thank you.
Burning Man, I want you to interview somebody here. I'm gonna get in Blue Goggy because he finished. Because we usually would have three podium sitters. You'd interview second place, but I'm gonna get in Blue Goggy because you know what? A best finish for him, a fourth. I know it's not meaningful too much, but now he's the one to take over most races in my leagues and most races in this league without a win. Now even without a podium. Blue Goggy, welcome along. Burning Man, go ahead. Ask him some questions.
Right then, so Blue Goggy, well done. Obviously, did a very good job there. How did how are you feeling when you realised that there was during the restart when there was a slight chance that you could get a race win?
Well, I knew that I would be slower than the guys on the medium, so I just had to go as fast as I could. Just try and stay with them for as long as I could, and a few laps later they all had a massive crash and I gained about 3 positions and just had quite a quiet race after that, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, because I was struggling to sort of keep along with what was going on because obviously I wasn't able to get in the game because I no longer have access right now. So I wasn't able to really keep up much. So, so your strategy for the restart was just avoid the chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew
Did
I
you have-
wasn't gonna be able to hold off Jab and that for that long.
Yeah.
So I just let them all by and try and stick behind them, and then they all had a massive crash and I gained a few positions, so it was quite good in the end.
Not a bad strategy actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about the two stop, and then I kind of had second thoughts because this was an actual opportunity for me to get a podium, so I didn't want to throw the race away by trying a risky strategy. So I just went with everyone else and ended out not too bad.
Not a bad idea then. Well, good job, mate.
Thank
So we
you.
had a fun race.
I do have a question. This is now, it was your second front row start, really surprising qualifying. Chungus got on pole with you in the front row. But now with Polo God winning, you are the driver in all my leagues to have the most starts actively without a race win. And now the driver in this league with the most starts without a podium or a win. Now that Polo God broke it, the question has to be asked to you. When is it coming?
Oh, well, I guess we'll have to see, but I mean, as long as I just keep practicing, not bottling it, as I just showed that I can hold on to good positions, I guess time will tell, really.
All right.
But yeah,
Congratulations
should
on your
be,
fourth place
yeah,
finish.
good.
Sorry.
Don't worry. Next race, I'll say that you can get a win. Apparently, I said that, and then Polo won this race.
I said Jab was gonna win. Not too far off.
I called it on Polo.
But-
Told you. I got the good
Riles will
commentator
struggle.
curse.
Riles will struggle. But yeah. Anyway, now on to our race winner, race victory number 1. You were battling with someone else who was also battling for race victory number 1. Polo God, take me through those last couple laps. You kept losing time in the S's. You kept struggling to hold on. Somehow you held on. Chungus, I don't know if he was trying to go for the move or not a couple of times, but he couldn't. And you held on for race victory number 1. Talk me through it.
To be honest, I had problems with at the S's the whole race because when the race started and I started going through the S section, my controller started like vibrating weirdly over the curbs, which I remember having fully off, but it was still affecting me. So I had to like kind of lift off a little bit. So I was losing a bit of time there, and then on the hards, it wasn't fun doing the S section on the hards because it just wasn't fun. um, having a medium runner gaining on you by like fucking 5/10 an S section.
Hmm.
Um, Chungus was absolutely rapid all race. He was keeping with me even when I was on the quicker tire on the mediums. So honestly, I think if it weren't for that like kerfuffle on the restart, I don't know exactly what happened. All I know is that there was murder. But uh I mean, is it a fortunate win? Probably due to the fact that Chungus probably should have went for a move on me when I lost it out of turn three. But he backed off. I think he just didn't want to. I think he just didn't want to lose yeah, like risk a penalty because I think he had two warnings at the time. Yeah, and then Doggy tells me like at the last sector that he got a penalty, and I just breathed a sigh of relief going through the fucking stadium section. Oh my god. I'm sending you that reaction, by the way. All it is gonna be screaming.
Well, I
Sorry,
have
bro.
to ask,
Sorry,
you
sorry.
know, it it took very long. It did. And, I think at the end of the day, ARL server gets deleted. Okay, you've not won a race by then. You go on to win a race in SRS. You see URS get started about, I don't know, I think it was about 13 months ago from now. And I, I may as well ask, did you ever question your ability that you would be able to win a race still in a league of mine? With the amount of starts, the amount of tries, the amount of disappointments? I mean, tell me about it.
I mean, it was cursed for like my entire career in a league owned by you. I mean, I've lost wins on the final lap on three separate occasions or two separate occasions.
Three.
Um,
Three.
like
Yeah.
I balled a lot
Yeah.
of wins, podiums, and like there's been a lot of races where I think that win should have came a lot earlier, but I mean, if I had to come in a race like this, so be it. I mean, I decent pace all race. I don't think my pace was amazing. I think it was just the fact that the car was like just completely broken. And honestly, I may think about considering going back into the Aston Martin if I'm too fast after Brazil. But yeah, I'll just savor the win while it lasts because it's taken me 3 fucking years. 3 years.
My last question is this as well, and maybe it's not thought of because of ARL being in being second in the championship, but you speak about Brazil, you speak about entering Brazil next week, but you're the championship leader right now. Um, I know you haven't got to soak that in a little bit, yet. How do you feel about it, and what are we expecting for the rest of the season from you right now?
It's a very, very, very rare occurrence. So honestly, I'm just taking the races one by one. I'm just gonna try and keep how the pace I'm going right now.
Yeah.
Keep improving, keep going, and just I mean, I'm still not gonna win the championship. I know that for a fact. I'm definitely gonna bottle a few races like I in Canada. They'll be going away that weekend. So I guess we'll play it by ear and see what the next few races bring.
Congratulations. Burning Man, anything else?
Nah, just well done on getting a race win in the first time in 2,000 years.
Yeah,
Thank you.
seriously. And let me just put this out there. Today is what, January 15th? 3 years ago. 3 years ago, um, you got your first podium around this weekend, if not this weekend, I think it was, in ARL. Just to put that into perspective of how long it took. Now, yes, you have time off with the server getting deleted with ARL and whatever, but that is monumentally crazy. Burning
I
Man,
know.
speaking about the race, I know second place, it was a disaster on there, but we saw Chungus catch Polo back and give him the pressure for his first win there, and really for both their first wins. We see a season where, for the first time, Pluto finishes a race and finishes it outside the points. Joseph, who we thought was a contender throughout the championship this season, is starting from the back foot at least. CJ had great pace in time trial, but look what happened in the race. What are we expecting into Brazil in the rest of the season, Jamie?
We're going to be very interesting. I mean, obviously, quality was already looking pretty close. And then, I mean, it was hell of a race right to the end between Chongas Polo. And there were multiple people in it. Like at the restart, it's going to be a good season, I reckon.
It reminds me of season 2 with new faces being there, and I don't know as much whether or not any sort of battling or any sort of results will change the way the rest of the season goes today, but like season 2. Season 2 saw quite a bit of winners throughout the season. Not really anybody dominating, but it was back and forth. I don't know if we'll see back and forth or not this season, but season 2 was open to new faces at the front of the field, or at least included in the field. Riles and Davis battled for the championship, and Pluto and Sam already did before. Pluto won the championship last season, and I think we're here for a fresh start. I don't know what you think, but what about you? What do you think?
But it's going to be very, very, very good race. Good racing and all that. It's going to be. It's just interesting to see. Obviously, like you said about Pluto, first time finishing outside the points.
That's crazy.
Insane.
Seriously. With finishing the race, by the way, because he did in France, but that is crazy. That is. So, next, we're on to Brazil, which hosts next week's race for round number 2, and also the 1-year anniversary of the first ever race in URS, which was also at Brazil. So, January 22nd, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UK. Tune in then for next week's race and round number 2 out of 12 of this championship. Till next time, I'm your commentator, Ryan Ocon31, and Burning Man, your co-commentator. See you next time. Enjoy.
Boy.